Hey everybody, Hunter, Fisher, Trapper, Trader, Guide, Scout, and Interpreter, and just a country cook, Steve Hall, here in Nashville, Tennessee, along with pretty Miss Sheila running that camera. Hi, Sheila.
Hi.
Today we're going to make shrimp and grits. It's a southern recipe. In fact, let me ask my phone a question here. What states are famous for shrimp and grits?
According to Palm Valley Fish Camp, states like Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, North Carolina, and New Orleans have been celebrating shrimp and grits with their friends and families.
See, all those Gulf Coast states are famous for that. And I heard Alabama in here, so you've had shrimp and grits before, right, Sheila?
Not at the same time.
Now that is a great southern answer. Have you ever had shrimp and grits? Not at the same time. That is just too perfect. In fact, that's kind of how this whole recipe got started. People ate grits and people ate shrimp, and down south they combined them and made a wonderful recipe. Come on over here, let's get started on some shrimp and grits, and we're going to eat them at the same time. What a great answer. See you in a bit. Well, all right, I went down to my friendly Kroger store there and I bought some raw shrimp. You do need raw shrimp. You can't use cooked shrimp. Easy to peel. It doesn't say anything about the fact that they're deveined, but they actually are deveined on the top. And I pinched the tail out because I would leave the tail on for decoration if I was going to make deep fried shrimp. That way you could pick it up by the tail. But because we're going to eat this in our grits, I didn't really want to do that. And I showed you that the top was peeled, but there's still a vein down here in the bottom you need to trim with a knife, clean it out. I did that with all of these, and then I kept the shells right here, and I'll show you why. I'm going to dump these. I don't have this on yet, so I'm just going to use this as a little platform to sit this down. I'm going to dump in all the shrimp shells that I peeled off. And look what I found in the same aisle. You probably never even noticed it there when you go to get your chicken broth or your beef broth. Seafood stock, yes. And it's made from pollock and shrimp and all kinds of stuff. So I'm going to dump this in here, the whole box, and then I'm going to take this pot in the kitchen and put it on low and let it simmer while we're doing the rest of this recipe. And then I'm going to drain all of them shells out of there and just come back with that seafood stock. Now you could just use seafood stock for this, but I want the juice out of all them shells. So let me take this in there and we'll go to the next step. All right, we got our shrimp already peeled and deveined, and you can buy peeled and deveined shrimp as long as it's raw. The only reason I bought the ones with the shell on because I wanted to throw the shells in that seafood stock and simmer a little more flavor out of them. And I'm going to season these up a little bit and set them off to the side because they're going to go in our recipe, the very last thing. And I'm not going to use Cajun seasoning because Sheila thinks it's a little too spicy, and I'm not going to use Creole because it's just got tons of salt. But I love Old Bay, and I know a lot of you folks do too. So I'm going to give this about a heaping teaspoon in here to start with. Then I'm going to kind of tumble these around and just coat this shrimp with this Old Bay seasoning. And that's really a good product. It does have salt, but it has enough other ingredients where the salt isn't so, prominent like it is in Creole seasoning. Some of that Creole seasoning, I just don't think I'm going to use it anymore because it's so salty. There, that looks pretty good. I might give it a little bit more, just a hair more. Maybe a teaspoon and a half if you're doing your figuring, but I'm just going to call it a heaping teaspoon. And there we go. That looks really, really nice. Now we're going to set this to the side over here. And now I'm going to turn on my trusty little pan. All right, our cast iron frying pan is heating up. And what I did is I got some bacon, and I just chop off the part of the bacon that's got the most fat in it. And actually, I have some of it left in the kitchen, but I chopped up enough to equal about 3 slices of bacon. And you can use a whole strip, but I like to use it already kind of diced up. And we're going to move this around in our pan here. And we're going to fry this and render it down real good and get all the bacon grease out of it. So we'll be back when this gets kind of crispy and leaves a lot of bacon grease in the bottom of our pan. We'll see in just a little bit. All right, we got this rendered down real nice. I switched to a little flat wooden tool here so I could kind of scrape the bottom. And I'm going to move this bacon up out of here. And this is going to be our garnish, along with some onions at the end to go on the top of our shrimp and grits. So we want to save that. Don't throw that away. Now I've got about a tablespoon of butter over here that I want to add to my tablespoon or so of bacon grease. And I turned the pan down to medium now because I'm getting ready to make a roux. So that means get out the old whisk, scrape off anything that's on the bottom of the pan, and get it going here. And now, to make our roux, we need to put an equal amount of flour that we have in our oil, whether it's bacon, butter, cooking oil. You can use anything you want, but we want to use this bacon grease because we wanted to get them little crumblies for the end of the recipe. So I'm going to put in about 2 tablespoons of flour in here, just about the same amount that we have in our butter and oil. Let me cook this on medium heat, no higher than medium. You don't want to burn your roux, for only about 5 minutes until the flour is really cooked. We'll see you in 5 minutes. All right, we got a little color on our bacon grease and butter on medium heat. I turned it up to medium high because I'm getting ready to add the Holy Trinity. That's onions, green peppers, and celery. I'm going to put in 1 cup of sweet onions. I love sweet onions. Now, a lot of people at this point put their shrimp in with the bacon and stuff. Don't do it, because it'll be overcooked when you get to the end of making all of this stuff. There's our onions. Now, traditionally, green peppers is what's used in the Holy Trinity. And what the Holy Trinity is, it's onions, green peppers, and celery, like I mentioned, that was created down in those southern states as cooking in a lot of their Cajun recipes. And I only had a little bit, I'm actually fibbing, I wanted this color in here because it looked so pretty. I had some little baby peppers that I bought in a bag, bell peppers, and I had some red ones, and I had some little orange ones, and then I had a little green one on the side that I cut up, but isn't that a lot prettier than just complete green all the way through? I think it looks beautiful. Now, that was a cup of diced bell peppers, whatever color you want to use. A cup of onions, and normally to do the Holy Trinity, you put in a cup of celery. But Sheila and I both know I don't like celery, so I'm only putting in a 1/2 cup of celery, really fine dice, so that it'll get cooked up nice and soft, because I just don't care for celery that much. Let me get this softened a little bit in here. And guess what we have back from the stove? We have our shrimp stock. And I'm going to put a little bit of shrimp stock in there. Oh, it smells so good. Seafood flavor coming up out of there is incredible. Now that flour that we put in there to make our roux, that's going to want to thicken this. We're just going to keep cooking. Oh, that looks so good. Doesn't it look terrific, Sheila?
It's really good.
And you'll be able to have shrimp and grits at the same time. Not at the same time, she says. That is too funny. Boy, this looks just wonderful. I couldn't be happier with the way this recipe is turning out until I get to the grits. And we're going to have an argument with some people, but I don't care. We're going to do it. This is a quick and easy recipe if you do it my way. A little more broth. Now, a lot of people use chicken broth, but I like that seafood stock that was in that box to put in here, because we're not making chicken soup, we're making shrimp and grits. All right, I think that's enough for right now. We're going to let that kind of work around in here. We're going to add about a quarter stick of butter. Well, wait a minute. I already put some butter in with the other part, so I'll put the rest of that quarter stick in. So that's a quarter stick total. Take a quarter stick, cut it in half, use half of the quarter stick when you're making your roux, and put the other half of the quarter stick in here now. I get kind of carried away with that butter. And we're also going to give this a pinch of salt and about 2 pinches of black pepper, maybe 3. It's up to you. And a lot of people would put the shrimp in at this time. Don't do it. It'll be overcooked. Don't put that shrimp in there. You're going to be tempted to want to chuck it in there and start simmering it around, but don't do it. Trust me. We're also going to put in a little bit of Worcestershire sauce, about 4 or 5 drops. And we're going to put in about 1/8 of a teaspoon of balsamic vinegar. Not very much, just a few drops of that as well. And I'll put all the ingredients. Oh, you should smell that. Vinegar mixed in with all that seafood broth and stuff. Wow. And then we're going to add a few little capers in here. Little capers. They come in a little baby jar. They're almost like a little salty onion. They're very, very unique. Used in a lot of seafood recipes. So we're only going to put in about 1/2 teaspoon of capers. Mix them in. Does this look delicious or what? What do you think, Sheila? How am I doing so far?
You're doing fantastic.
All right, let me get this softened up just a little bit. And I'll tell you what I did. I took some green onions because I want to garnish the recipe at the end, so I cut the green part. And then I hate it because I don't really like to use the white end of the green onion when I'm doing garnish on top. So I saved it and cut it up, and I'm putting it in there too. And what I did in the kitchen was I sauteed this regular green onion up just like I would here because I wanted to see if it kept that real strong onion flavor, because I wanted to use sweet onions to make the recipe, which I did. I put that 1 cup of sweet onions in there, but I'm also putting in the rest of the white or green onions, the white end of them, just because I don't want to throw them away and they're going to go to waste in the refrigerator. And they tasted so nice, and they didn't have a strong taste of onions once you simmered them down a little bit. And now we're going to add into this a little bit of 1/2 and 1/2, just to kind of richen it up a little bit. About 1/4 cup to start with. Perfect. All right, let me simmer this for about 5 minutes to soften up all our veggies. See you in 5 minutes. All right, our veggies are getting nice and soft, and at this point, you'll want to put the shrimp in there, but don't do it.
Yeah, don't do it.
She's good at ordering people around, trust me. Now, this is going to get fun here. We're going to put in a couple of sprigs of rosemary in there. We're going to retrieve them in a little bit, and we're going to put in 3 or 4 slices of real thin sliced lemons. And what I did is I sliced them real thin and I punched all the seeds out, so no seeds will end up in anybody's recipe. And we're just going to kind of get them in there and let them simmer for about 3 minutes or so to get all the flavor going in there, and we'll be back in just a little bit. All right, these guys been in here simmering around. Let's retrieve our sprigs of rosemary. Let's get our little lemon slices out of there. And now we're going to brown this sauce up just a little bit. Now I'm saving you time in the grits and in this process of the gravy over here for our shrimp. Let me turn this down. I can tell it's getting a little bit too warm. I'm saving the process because at the beginning, remember when we made the roux? Now a roux can be a blonde roux, peanut butter colored roux, chocolate brown. You can go as deep as color as you want. But to get a deep, deep color to this sauce, not real deep, but just a nice golden match the shrimp look, you'd have to stand there for another 10 minutes and stir that roux. But I'm going to show you how you can do it without doing that. Go to Walmart and get yourself a little bottle of this kitchen bouquet. And I got to tell you a story. I went into Walmart and there was a lady and a guy and they were stocking shelves. I said, "Where's your kitchen bouquet?" She says, "What?" I said, "Well, you stock all the shelves here. Kitchen bouquet. It's a little kind of a pyramid looking bottle, kind of black. It's got a little yellow thing on there, a label." And she says, "Never heard of it." I said, "You've never heard of kitchen bouquet?" And she says, "No, we don't carry it." So I punched it up on my phone, my smartphone, and I turned and I showed her a picture of this bottle. And the guy next to her said, "Wait a minute." He went around the corner and he picked it right off the shelf. I said, "Well, I guess you do have it." And we're only going to put about 1/4 of a teaspoon in there. It's a browning sauce, a flavorful sauce. It is so good. You won't have to add any extra salt or anything. It's just perfect. Now watch this. You see that little teeny 1/2 teaspoon? Watch when you start stirring this. It just turned our entire sauce about 3 shades browner. Man, I use it in soups and everything else. Kitchen bouquet. And after you open it, keep it in the refrigerator and it'll last for a long time, 6 months to a year. I mean, I've used it after being in the refrigerator for a year and it's just perfect. See, look at that. Look how nice that is. And we didn't have to stand there and make our roux super dark to get this beautiful color and flavor by putting in some kitchen bouquet. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this off and we're going to go over here to our grits, and that's where the real story starts. All right, I got my little Dutch oven here, getting ready to make some instant grits. Now, if you've ever seen My Cousin Vinny, and he goes up to this guy and he said, "What'd you have for breakfast?" He said, "Eggs and grits." He says, "Instant grits?" He said, "No self-respecting Southerner uses instant grits." He said, "I take pride in my grits." He said, "Well, how could it take you 5 minutes to make your grits when it takes the entire grit-eating world 20 minutes? And he nailed him down on the stand on that time. So we're going to use instant grits here, and it's Quaker instant grits, and this comes with 4 American cheese packets, 4 cheddar cheese packets, or 4 triple cheese. And Sheila decided that we're going with the triple cheese. But before we do that, we're going to dump in 1 cup of water because each one of these packets requires a 1/2 cup. So I got four packets, that's 2 cups of water, but I'm going to substitute some of this. Here's where we're going to turn these instant grits into a time-saving, not stirring for 20 minutes, but yet flavorful and spiced up grit. And here's how we're going to do this. 1 cup of water, a 1/2 cup of 1/2 and 1/2. Oh yeah. And you remember that shrimp broth that we made on the stove from that seafood broth box and those shells? That's going in there. There's our 2 cups. Oh, we're not done. We're not done. We're going to make these even better. We're going to put in a 1/4 stick of butter, and we're going to do just a pinch of salt and about 2 pinches of black pepper, kind of like what we did over here. Now, I'm going to bring this to a boil, then we're going to dump in, oh, I love butter. We're going to dump in our 4 packets of instant grits. We'll see you in just a little bit. All right, this just came to a boil, and here's where everything's going to happen, and this is the reason I'm using instant grits is for timing. I'm going to turn on my shrimp gravy over here and start heating it back up. And when I took those 4 packets and tore it open and dumped in here, come to 1 cup. So 2 cups of broth to 1 cup of grits, instant grits. We're going to stir in our 1 cup of instant grits into a cup of water, 1/2 cup of 1/2 and 1/2. Oh man. And a 1/2 cup of our broth, our seafood broth. See, and this is just coming up just nice here. Now, even though this is a 3 cheese mixture out of this instant grits, you see this little bag here? This little bag is mild cheddar. And because it already has cheese in the mixture, let me turn this back off over here while I'm working. I'm only going to add a half a cup of mild cheddar cheese to our already cheesy grits. And then I'm going to turn this off. Looks really, really good. Now we're going to let this set and slowly cool down with our burner off, and it should thicken. Okay, Sheila, if you would, sweetheart, move the camera back over here to this pan. All right, our grits are getting nice and thick, but not too thick. You can always thin it out with a little broth or a little bit of half and half, but I like them just about the way they are. And now, finally, it's time to put this shrimp in here. And I'm going to put in enough to where it'll just about cover the bottom of the pan so I can kind of turn them. And here's the key. The reason I've been holding off, you don't want to overcook your shrimp. That is so important to this recipe. 5 to 7 minutes max. Look at your watch, because we just put the shrimp in now. And we're going to get them nice and pink on both sides. Then cook them for about another minute or so. They'll be done all the way through, barely, which is exactly what we're looking for. You can kind of tumble them around in here. I'm getting anxious. I will tell you this. I took a little spoon here and just took out some of this sauce. You could eat that on toast. Oh, fantastic. Wait till you try our quick and easy shrimp and grits with wonderful flavor, homemade shrimp stock. Plus, we borrowed a box from Kroger's of that seafood sauce or seafood stock. My mouth is watering so much I can't even talk sometimes. All right, it ain't gonna be long, and we're gonna dish up. Our grits are getting just so perfect with the world. I'm telling you what, look around on the internet and you tell me if there's anything that looks as delicious as that. Some people just saute shrimp and throw it on top of regular grits. That don't work. And some people just get to going with the bacon and all that. Then they dump in all their shrimp. Then they dump in all their vegetables. Then they dump in everything else. And they just cook the shrimp to death. And it's just so terrible to just ruin wonderful big shrimp like that. And like I said, you can just start out with raw, deveined, peeled shrimp. But I use the ones with the shell on. And they were deveined on the top, but just remember, the bottom part of the shrimp also has a little track in there too. If you want to clean that out, get your knife out, remove that as well. And then we put the shells on the stove in there, or Sheila did. I don't want to take any credit. I say we like I got a quarter in my pocket or something. Oh man, I'm turning each one of these guys over now. They're getting just so perfect. Ooh, one made it with the tail still on. Look at there. We might have to put him on top just to show it off a little bit. All right, how long has it been, Sheila?
5 minutes?
No, it hasn't been 5 minutes. It's been actually closer to 3. I didn't look at my watch either because I really don't have to. I just know how long to cook these, and it's not long. About 5 minutes is all we need with our shrimp. In fact, we'll start pulling the ones out of the middle, which is the hottest part of the pan for this recipe, right now. I'm going to get this little spoon because this one's got slots in it. I'm not sure it's going to keep the grits. I've been looking for something to do with this fancy schmancy pan. Oh man. Cheesy grits. Let me turn this off because I don't want to cook my shrimp past the magic point. Let me get a bunch of this grits in here. I'm probably out of camera frame. I'll be right back, Sheila. I'm just getting a bunch of them over here for this recipe. Perfect. This would actually make about 2 nice little bowls. And look at this. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to scoop this up so I can get broth and shrimp at the same time. I've been waiting on doing this recipe for the longest time. Look at that. Man, looky here. Let's put our one shrimp that snuck through inspection right on top there. And just a little bit more sauce. Hold on, we're not done. Hold on. You remember that bacon? There's a little of that bacon on top.
Aim it this way a little bit.
Okay, how's that? Does that look better?
Good.
And just a little bit of our onions. Man, that looks fantastic, but before I taste it, and I'm going to put it on the screen, just before I moved from the frying pan over to the grits, I put in a tablespoon of minced garlic in there. Duh! And I stirred it all in, and I moved over, but I didn't put it on camera. But it's in there. Trust me, it's like Perego. It's in there. And I'll put it in the description box below, and I'll even put a little thing in there that says add 1 tablespoon of minced garlic. But right now, let me try some of this fantastic shrimp and grits. I just ate another shrimp. It's so tender and just melts in your mouth. Don't overcook that shrimp. Now let me try just a little bit of grits, because these are instant grits, and if you want to cook your grits for 20 minutes somewhere else in the country and you're proud of the way you do that, man, we want you to do that, because we just want you to watch our recipes and make sure that you do the recipe the way you want. I'll tell you something. Those instant grits, and we doctored them up with some cream, some butter, a little salt and pepper, a little extra cheese. They're not instant no more. Now they're an instant grit base with all those wonderful flavors. Wow. You know, I got to tell you, I held off on doing this recipe because of the grits. I didn't want anybody to think instant grits. Then I thought, how can I doctor those grits up to make them buttery and delicious and creamy and cheesy, but yet easy to make, so I can time it with getting the grits out and the shrimp only cooked for 5 minutes and plated all at the same time. I think we got her done. Like my Uncle Bob used to say, buddy, that'll sell. I hope you enjoy this recipe. Give it a try. We hope you subscribe to our channel. That's really easy. Little Shotgun Red's face will pop up over here in a little bit. When it does, click on it. When it says subscribe, right next to it, click on that little bell. Then you'll be notified every time we come out with another recipe. And even if you're a subscriber and you're not getting all of our recipes, you can go back and click on that little bell as well. Then they'll send you every one when they come out. Over here, we're going to put a playlist with some quick and easy recipes. This is not really quick and easy. And in fact, there are as many different ways to make shrimp and grits on the internet than there are recipes. Some make it with a red sauce. Some don't use any sauce at all. Some don't use any vegetables. Some make a white sauce or a creamy. Just try ours one time, just one time, like this, with all them neat ingredients in. Don't forget to put in that garlic, like I told you, 1 tablespoon when you're simmering it all, and it'll turn out fantastic. It is it. My mouth. You know, I get to eating stuff in the middle of this, and I can't talk because my mouth gets to watering. Is this the best shrimp and grits anywhere? If it ain't, it ought to be. This is Steve Hall in Nashville, Tennessee, saying thanks for watching our recipe. And remember, all the ingredients will be right underneath the video, where you can just click show more. It'll drop down. Or if you're doing it on your smartphone, just go clear to the right of the title, and there'll be a little arrow. Click on that. That'll also drop down. I kind of forgot to say that in the past. And you can do it. But you don't need to go to any website to get any of our ingredients. They'll be right under the video. But if you are out there snooping around, you got nothing better to do, pop into shotgunred.com. Christmas is coming up. Got a lot of neat Shotgun Red goodies for sale on there. Some Shotgun Red dolls, some DVDs, all that kind of stuff. But most of all, Sheila, did I do good?
You did fantastic.
Are you ready to try shrimp and grits at the same time?
I am.
I still can't get over that. I've been giggling the whole recipe. When I asked her at the top of this recipe, have you ever tried shrimp and grits? She said, not at the same time. That is classic. You are just wonderful. Great job, by the way.
Well, thank you.
See you next time right here on Cooking with Shotgun Red, where the shrimp are never overcooked because they're pink and tender and just barely done. on the middle. If they cook to where they curl clear to a little O, that stands for overcooked. See you next time. Bye-bye. Wonderful.